Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the World of Momos podcast. And on this episode of Reflections and Reactions, we have Kendele Harper with us. And we're going to talk to Kendele about what happened to her at her school, but also about the state of education for younger people and what are the alternative routes for them if all that they are going to receive in universities is wokeness. So, hi there, Kendele. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, before we actually start on that school thing, tell us a bit about yourself. Where were you born and stuff like that. Yeah, anything you want to
Um,
tell us.
so my full name's Kendele Harper Reyes, and I'm 17 years old. I was born in Middlesbrough in Teesside, in the northeast of England. I started getting interested in politics when I was about 14.
Hmm.
Um, and throughout the years, I've become more politically aware, wanting to get more involved. So I've done things with the political parties. I've ran for youth parliament. I've been on Talk TV. Just little things and pieces, just to try and get my views out there.
Yeah, good. So, tell us then, what happened at the school?
So I've always been quite opinionated. If there was something the teacher was giving an opinion about, I'd always want to debate if I didn't agree. And we were sat in an English lesson, and we had a substitute teacher at the time because our teacher was on holiday. And basically, the teacher, who was quite clearly a female, said to us that we had to call her a man because that's what she preferred. Now, I'm all for, like respecting one another, but I'm not going to say something I don't believe in.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, I'd asked to go to the toilet, and she said that if I don't call her a man, I wouldn't be able to go to the toilet. So I didn't call her a man. I just sat in the lesson until the end, and she said to me that I should have called her by what she wanted because that's what she
But if
prefers.
if you wanted to go to the toilet, you won't even use a pronoun at that point, would you?
I know.
So she just wanted compliance. Basically, she
Yeah.
just wanted, yeah, to be accepted. Okay, so what happened then?
She kept me back at the end of the lesson and said that I should have called her a man, which I said I didn't believe in that. And I left the room, and not even 10 minutes after that had happened, I was approached by two teachers and was put in a room with just a table and a chair, blank walls, and was told I made offensive comments, so I wouldn't be allowed back to my lessons. So I said, if you're going to do this over a fact, can you give me some work so I'm not falling behind? I wasn't given any work, I was just made to sit there over a fact that a man cannot be a
Mm.
woman. So at the end of the day, my parents got in touch with the school, and we had a meeting about it with the head teacher. And when this meeting lasted about an hour and a half, and when we went into the meeting, the first thing the head teacher was trying to say was that I was being naughty at school, and I wasn't kind of abiding by the school rules, which she had never brought up before. Only now that I'd stated a fact,
Yeah.
and my mum was there, and she said, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about what's happened in the lesson, and you've taken her out of the lessons because she stated a fact. We knew they were just trying to deflect on the situation. And in the meeting, the head teacher labelled me disrespectful, and she said that I don't buy into the school rules, and I'm just trying to look for an argument, basically. By this point, I said that we should be allowed to speak about we should be allowed to speak our opinions.
Mm.
That's what
Yeah.
education's for, to think for
Mm.
yourself, to speak for yourself. But when it doesn't align with their woke agenda they push, that's when it becomes a problem. So the head teacher basically came to the conclusion that this substitute wasn't going to teach our lessons again, and I left it from there. And about 6 months later, two of my friends were sat in the school library where this substitute was with another teacher, and there was other kids around, and they had overheard this teacher saying to another teacher at the school and students that I was transphobic. Obviously, I wasn't there to vend myself or to say anything. So when these two girls came and told me, we wrote a formal complaint to the school. Because obviously I'm not transphobic. I don't want to be branded in that way for stating a fact. And the outcome of that was basically I didn't get an apology from the head teacher, the substitute teacher, just that we won't brand you that way again. There was another instance where I said the exact same thing. A woman was a man. This wasn't even to a teacher. This was to one of my friends at the time. And apparently a teacher had overheard me saying that, and I was isolated for a whole day at school. I was sat in a room, blank walls, just my work, and I think it was 3 teachers came in and they were shouting at me because apparently I had made offensive comments and there was serious allegations against me, and then they wouldn't tell me what it was for until near to the end of the day. So basically I was just sat there taking a punishment. I didn't even know what it was for. Until they told me what it was for, and they said it was because I stated a man was a man, a woman was a woman.
So have you? It's just so I don't even know what to say. It's so ridiculous. Like, how can there is intimidation? So, have you talked with any of your friends who are in other schools? Have they
Mhm.
experienced the same sort of behaviors by the
Um,
teachers and stuff?
not not many. I have a friend who went to a different secondary school and she's in a different college. She's currently she faced I think it was 2 weeks ago. She was getting taught about extremism.
Mm,
And the only extremism that the teacher was talking about was far right extremism. There was no other examples. And my friend did call this out. And 2 boys in her year group went and approached her, and they were name calling her and um, basically just being really nasty because she questioned why only one side was being brought up. And I did help her write a complaint to her college. I'm not sure where that's at now, but they're trying to get that resolved.
mm. And what did your friends in your school thought, like what was happening? Do you has anyone else had running with that substitute teacher or some other teacher as well? Have they voiced more of their concerns as well, that they don't want to be taught these things or they don't want to be told what to think?
There's a few who do share the same opinions as me. Some are scared to speak out
Mm,
because they don't want to be told off by the teachers for questioning it. I know other students in my secondary school were called transphobic by the same teacher because they
mm,
said the same thing as me. I just don't think they followed through with it with like the complaint kind of situation and stuff like I did. But there was definitely a few who did go through the same thing. Yeah.
it's very disturbing to see like this happening to kids, because I see that in workplaces and stuff where people are intimidated to speak out, because if they don't, then they can get got called in, they can get investigated, they can get fired. But as adults, I would expect them to fight it, or whether they fight it or not is their sort of decision. But happening to kids, happening to underage kids as well, like you guys don't have that autonomy, and it's being taken away from you by indoctrinating you. So, uh, in your opinion, how much do you think it actually works, that kids actually believe, especially in your age group, that they're transgender, they actually do start believing in it? Or do you think it's actually working the other way around, where more and more people are actually kids are getting away from the work agenda because it's been so authoritative?
It's kind of a mixed bag, to be honest, because I have friends who go, all my friends that go to my college, most of them are, they have opinions and things. Most of them, some are on the left, some are on the right. The majority of them say, obviously, there's only 2 genders and stuff, but some of them are in favour of it getting taught. Some aren't. I know there's people that have been in my classes that have said, that trans men and stuff, like, we should acknowledge that they can change the gender. There's definitely more people believing it than, let's say, a few years ago when I was back in secondary school. I think I see a rise of it now. And yeah, I think it's totally disgusting that they're even allowed to teach such harmful things when we're not even developed properly. That can change someone's mind
Hmm.
so quickly because young people are more susceptible to believing these things. Yeah, I think it's totally harmful.
And is it ongoing? Did it happen in your school? And you said like you're in college now, so is that
Yeah,
the same place where it's happening?
yeah. College pretty much the same. Not as bad, but they obviously teach a left leaning agenda. I've called it out many times
Hmm.
in lessons and things like that. We've had biased teachers that discriminate against people on the right, and it's more of a it's indoctrination in a sense, because when you're a teacher, you're put in that professional position to, allow everyone to think for themselves. You allow people to, have open discussion. We were often shut down when we tried to, and yeah.
Yeah. Which subjects are you studying in college right now?
I'm studying politics, criminology, and business.
So when it comes within criminology and stuff, do you see their left agenda where they are, when if they even do talk about profiling or stuff like that as well, where they're
hmm
trying to put in their agenda and stuff like that, trying to confuse the subject, or they're trying to bring in the idea of colonization and stuff in every single thing. Do you feel that? Do you see that?
I think there's definitely political bias in lesson, even in business and criminology, which aren't political. Um, Politics is always brought up. I've had teachers, make sly comments like, "Oh, I hate Donald Trump" and things like that, and it's just not relevant to the lesson. Um,
Yeah.
so once a teacher says that, because you listen to your teachers, you learn off your
Mm.
teachers and things like that. So if a student who isn't really clued up about politics is hearing a teacher say that, that they hate Donald Trump, for instance, they're gonna automatically think that he's a bad person. And this has happened with a lot of other names as well, mostly on the right. Um, but yeah, people are very quick to believe lies.
Yeah, and it's very dangerous because when you're teaching politics, especially to you guys, and you can't say that because he's a president, right? So he's a president of the most powerful country in the world, and you can teach a lot about his politics. It doesn't matter; people can agree or disagree with it, but you have to be objective, especially when you're teaching political theory, political philosophies and stuff. So it's very like, and I'm pretty sure they are never disparaging about anyone on the left side of
Yeah.
politics, and they probably up the socialists too much as well, like, and the socialist models. They probably bring up the Scandinavian socialist models a lot, like, oh, this is a good way of doing politics and stuff. Is that the case that you see?
Yeah, a lot more left leaning ideologies, politicians,
Hmm.
they don't get slandered as much as people on the right. I've heard about Karl Marx a few times in my lessons. But the teachers that are there are supposed to give like a balance of opinion.
Hmm.
So what I found was that when people in the class were arguing, it would normally be like people on the right were, debating a topic, and the people on the left were rebuttaling it. The teacher would always side with the left, the
Hmm.
people that were left leaning, and then we'd end up debating the teacher and not our own peers, which I think was totally ridiculous. I feel like she should have just stayed neutral. Um, but it did. We did complain about that as well, because I was told I was penalising illegal immigrants and their human rights because I said that they shouldn't be here illegally. So we did complain about that as well, and the bias did kind of wear off towards the end after that.
Hmm.
But the fact it happened in the first place, it just shows that the state of the education system is in massive
Yeah,
decline.
the schools and colleges are not, and especially the university as well. They are no longer a place of education, but a place of indoctrination, and can you can clearly see that and feel that. It's very disappointing
Hmm.
to see. Now, the another aspect of the trans ideology is because there's many aspects of the left ideology which is ruining education and everything as well, and the health and mental, the physical and mental health of the kids as well. When it comes to the trans ideology, do you see like how harmful it might be to some of your friends who are girls, especially who are too much on Instagram or TikTok and stuff as well, that they are very body conscious, and when they're going through their puberty and stuff like that, and they might want to, might see, okay, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to be a man because I can then bypass all of that, and then they confirm that, yeah, oh yeah, you can do that. Have you experienced anyone in your social group who has gone through that or have voiced those opinions?
No one in my kind of close circle. I think most of us established that there is only two genders and you can't change it. But from like a outsider perspective, people that I have known, but haven't been like friends with, just peers with, I've seen it happen too. Um, and it's all a state of confusion. They're confused. They don't know kind of what they're doing really. They've been presented an idea, but if you think you're in the wrong body, then there's got to be some sort of mental or confusion there for that to even be suggested to yourself.
Hmm. And so, because there's a lot of harmful content online as well,
Mhm.
um, a lot of suggestive content as well, how have you been making sure that you are not influenced by that? Because you seem well put together for a 17-year-old, clued on and stuff, and I wouldn't want you to be influenced negatively by the Instagram and stuff, because there's a lot of the the dysmorphia comes in because we put in these things so much.
Mhm.
And also, like, people try, like, especially women would, like, self-harm and all the stuff like that, or try to live up to an image which is edited and doctored anyways by celebrities and stuff like that. How do you make sure that you don't fall into that trap?
Um, Politics wise, I just don't read the mainstream media. I tend to go more independent. Try read both sides and make my mind up.
But out of
I
politics, like, into social media, just you know
like the editing wise and things like that.
yeah, and then, like, just not being influenced by, okay, this is what a woman is supposed to be, just like, how Instagram shows it, that all you need to have that, or you need to, like, because I
Okay.
see a lot of young girls and stuff going for fillers and going for, like, changing, like, cosmetic surgery and stuff, because they're trying to be, what they are doing, but they're doing through edits.
It's harmful because putting stuff in your body that's not naturally supposed to be there is going to be bad for you in some sort of way. I think the expectation of like beauty and things like that's come from editing through pictures, people putting filters over themselves. It's harmful because I feel like everyone's unique in their own way. You don't need to change it and try to look like somebody else. That takes the whole point of being unique away from you. If you're trying to look like um somebody else, everyone should embrace what they've been given and been blessed with. um I don't really use social media for looking at
Good.
celebrities and stuff like
Good.
that anyway. Obviously when I was a bit younger, probably did look at more of that stuff, and I've always said the same thing. I don't agree with plastic surgery or anything like that.
Mm. That's good to be a bit more clued on, I think so, because it is harmful, it is very suggestive, and even adults fall into it, like this, wrong perceptions of what life is supposed to be, or what one is supposed to be, what someone's goals is supposed to be. So it's good to know. So what are you, because you're studying criminology, you're studying politics, so I'm guessing, like, you would want to study in university. What is your idea of it, like, you would have wanted to, I'm guessing, if it wasn't that work, or what is your idea
I've
of
never wanted
university?
to go to university, actually. It's
Hmm.
never even since when I was in my younger years at secondary school, I always said I don't want to go to university because um, the debt is
Mm,
ridiculous, like the payment of it. I think I know people in my family that went to university. They came out with a degree. Now they're working minimum wage jobs, and the family
mhm,
members that didn't go to university have better jobs than the family members that did. So I've
mm,
always had that perception that uni isn't everything, and it's pushed like university is the only thing. It gets put in your face a lot of college, like
mm,
personal statements, things like that. They don't put apprenticeships and things in the same light as university, which I think they should do because it's in my opinion, it's better. You're getting hands-on experience.
mm.
You're getting paid. You're already, getting an idea of the workplace. Whereas if you're in uni, you're then, in a classroom again, and then you have to come out of uni, then you're in the workplace. So I think people with apprenticeships actually do have a better experience as they're actually doing the job rather than learning about the job.
Yeah. So if, like, let's say the university was more, because in universities you get a like more structured info education, right? Because you can then, if they weren't work, right, and they weren't like breaking your bank, right? So if they were reasonable and they incorporated the elements of apprenticeship
Hmm.
into teaching, the university actually did their apprenticeship themselves, like every single subject is taught with work experience.
Hmm.
That's something that would be appealing to a lot of young kids, I'm guessing, because then
I
you can
think that
actually
would
do the
be.
work.
I think it'd be more appealing. Yeah, I know. A lot. Some of my friends aren't going to university for the exact same reasons, as myself, and they're all thinking about either going doing an apprenticeship or going into employment straight away. Because they all have the same mindset: is that you get more experience when you're actually doing it, rather than just learning about what you do when you leave. And obviously, you come out with if you're at university with the degree, if you're in like it depends what kind of sector you want to go into anyway, but it's hard to kind of be better and get the job as there's going to be a lot of people going for the same ones, which is why if you've got work experience and things like that, people are more likely wanting to hire you.
Yeah. So tell me a bit more, like, for you and your friends around you and stuff, what is right now the biggest concern and issue that just only concerns you and like people in your age group? What do you see as the biggest concern right now
What's like in the like a political topic or
in daily life, in politics, whatever it might be? What is your biggest concern for the future?
well, I think the word that gets used a lot just in my college because obviously I speak to a lot of people who like debating and things like that, and the one thing that always comes down to for us is the state of the immigration crisis in the UK. I always debate on that a lot with people. I always hear other people talking about it, and I would say that's probably the biggest concern growing um, in young people. And I do think it depends on who you talk to. Because I hear people say about like the environment and things like that, but immigration is the biggest one that gets thrown about
Yeah.
at our.
And within immigration topic, like, what is the biggest concern, like, according to you or people who you debate with? Like, what aspect within it is the biggest concern?
Um, Probably the fact that people are coming over and draining the economy. People are getting put in hotels, they're getting food, things like that, and it costs.
Mm,
And I think it's annoying for some of us is because these people are getting put on a pedestal, but I think the youth are kind of put on the backbench a little bit.
yeah,
Like they're more concerned about these people than they are their own youth.
yeah. And do people like differentiate between what they feel when concerns illegal immigrants, because that is even more of a mistake, to be honest, and
Hmm.
then the legal immigrants, because there's two type of problems over there, right? So when it comes to illegal immigrants, that just straight up people who actually don't even have the skills or never are going to have skills or integrate and stuff, and they are a huge drain. And then when it comes to legal immigration as well, over mass legal immigration. Legal immigration means that the government is not going to make that many policies to train you guys up to be the future workforce, in a way, like, spend more on training you as doctors, nurses, engineers, or whatever, and they're just importing these people
Hmm.
do, do people actually differentiate their feelings that much, or is it just a matter of people are just fed up, like kids around your age?
I think a lot of people, like most of them, are fed up with illegal immigration. I think mostly every one of my friends all hold the same view that it's wrong. Um, Legal immigration differs a little bit though, because obviously I make the case that legal migration is also out of control, and I also have a few other friends that make the same case, but the ones that tend to lean more left don't see an issue with it. So there's always debates around legal immigration, but illegal immigration, we all hold the same stance, really. I think everyone's just fed up of being put on the backbench.
Yeah. Do you see like people even like leaning left, they are also fed up with illegal immigration, that they
Mhm.
can't really back it up? It's
Yeah.
only probably only the teachers that you find that are still holding on to that, oh, they have human rights or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that at least that is a positive, that the future generation is not that idiotic as the teachers, to be honest. So around your like your social lives and stuff like that, people your age, I keep calling you kids, and because like you're a lot younger than me, I can't even remember the last time I was like, when I was 17, 18. um when you guys like, how is it impacting you, your daily life and stuff, not just like, just normally, like what are the issues that are coming up when you go to high street and stuff? Do you see that, because it get talked about in the media so much, do you have that feeling, this sort of like a doomer feeling, that you will never be able to own a house, or all those things, that you will have a problem getting a job and stuff? Maybe a lot of kids around you are thinking, maybe I'll just get out of the country or something, or maybe I'll just go over there or stuff. Is that a common feeling of like people actually being really really sort of going in that black, shadowy place, and very depressive place? Because it can take really dark turns, especially for kids around your age.
Hmm. Even with just getting a job, some of I work part time jobs. Some of my friends work part time jobs. Some of them can't get a job. They keep applying, but they can't seem to get one. I know that I won't be able to afford a house for a long, long, long time, and that is a worry, because as soon as you turn into an adult, really, you kind of want this freedom. You want to have your own place. You want to start your life up, but because of how because of the housing crisis and things like that. I don't think anybody I know is going to be able to afford to own a home anytime soon.
Yeah. And what does that make, what does that generally, that only that thing makes you feel like?
Well, it's frustrating, um, because I feel like this youth generation is the one that's going to help build the country up as it goes on, and we're kind of just forgotten about a little bit. Labour haven't done much. They said they were going to build loads of homes. I don't think
Hmm.
they've built hardly any to what they said they were going to do. Um, I think young people are frustrated. Even just like with how expensive things are, around the cost of living crisis, like even trying to buy things now as a teenager, it's expensive, and I think people are frustrated, and they have every right to be.
Yeah, I mean, like remember as well, like when I was a bit younger, we were going out every now and then as well, and I see as well like young kids like your age and stuff aren't able to actually do that anymore because it's so expensive, and
Hmm.
that changes a lot. That changes your socializing habits and stuff, and how you grow, actually how you grow as an adult into an adult, without having experienced all those things that you should be able to do, because it should be a lot cheaper for you and affordable for you to actually experience all those things while you're not burdened by mortgages and whatnot, and family life.
Hmm.
um so tell me a bit about, after the whole school debacle, right, and
Hmm.
following on from that, what happened then? Because you appeared on TV and stuff, as you were saying as well.
Hmm.
What I have your general feelings been since that has happened to you? And what do you think you're going to do after finishing college?
The feelings after that happened, obviously, I was very frustrated that it happened to me, and I don't want that to happen to anybody else, that they get discriminated for, stating an opinion, which is a fact. Um, made me more passionate. It made me more determined, to stand up, give my opinions, and things like that. And obviously, after college, I'm not sure what specifically, but I do want to go into kind of like a politics job, something like that. Maybe journalism. Don't know whether we, go run
Hmm.
for an MP or something like that. I'm not too sure yet, but definitely something political.
Definitely something political, right? Um, yeah, it would be really good to for you. Have you considered being involved in because there's a lot of youth politics and stuff. A lot of political parties have their youth wings and stuff like that. Have you considered, like, okay, maybe you could be a youth lead in one of the political parties to just to get the kids to come onto your side of politics or something, or actually at least be involved in having conversations. Because there's one thing also I feel like connected to that question as well,
Mhm.
is that a lot of young kids, I'm seeing that they are just disconnecting
Mhm.
because the problem is so much, because they feel like they can't do anything about it. So they feel like they have two ways out of it: either they get out of the country as soon as they're able to, or they just disconnect from it all.
Mhm.
I have you experienced that? Like, it's hard to get those kids involved in politics then.
Yeah, 100%. I've tried to talk to, everybody I know knows that I love to talk about politics, so it's come at some point. And so some of them are like, it doesn't affect me, so I don't care.
Hmm.
And I say to them, like, it will affect you once you hit 18. Bills start coming in, bills are rising, things like that. It is going to affect you. And discussion's the only way you can try, and engage people, young people especially, because they haven't been hit in reality. Reality hasn't hit them. They're not in the big world yet. But I think, when that happens, that they are going to change their mind, and they're going to be more
And
political.
when it comes to political parties, which political parties have you been following over the years, and like where do you think like your sort of political mind goes more?
Well, I was a member of Reform UK. I think I was a member in 2024. I went to their conference. Um, went to the branch meetings. Did a few interviews at conferences and things like that for them. Um, since then, I did leave Reform, and I'm now a member of Advance UK. I spoke at their launch. I'm at a meeting with them tomorrow. So I think the way Advance is I don't think that they're part of the establishment, whereas I think Reform is.
Hmm.
I don't think Reform stand for free speech, whereas I think Advance UK and Ben do. So I think I'm obviously more aligned with Advance.
So it's something like, let's imagine if Advance UK had a youth department, or they started like youth advanced youth sort of thing. That's
Mhm.
something that you would be happy to be involved in and
Yeah,
gain more experience and stuff.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and let's imagine if they did that, and they gave you the job that you're the one who heading it, right? Let's say you're heading advanced youth. What would you do to increase the engagement in kids from the age of 16 onwards,
Hmm.
16 to 18, not just increase their engagement but increase their intellectual engagement into topics and critically thinking about politics? What would you do, you think?
Um, First, I think I'd start with hard conversations. Need to be had. The people who say I don't care about politics, they usually do have an opinion on something, and it's controversial. Once you start speaking about these topics with them, and they start debating back with you, they start learning about different topics that they want to kind of get involved in. I've seen this with my own friends. I think discussion is the best way forward. I think that people need to realize that the country is in massive jeopardy. It's in economic decline, it's in social decline. We're not this great country that we should be. We've got a government that doesn't care about us. And people need to, realise that. And once people do start realising, I think it'd be good, to get people to start, like challenging the education system, for example. I think people have come at me about what they're getting taught, and I say to them, challenge it, say something, speak your opinions. That's what you're there for. And if they do try and shut you down, you don't shut up.
Mm, mm, mm. No, that's very good. And what I would say as well, especially because this is something that people do wrong when they're communicating with either people who don't know enough or kids your age as well, is that they start becoming a bit condescending. You will find that with your teachers as well, when they
Mhm.
want you to agree with it. So this is something that, and for anyone out there as well, especially when you are engaging in these conversations, these difficult ones, help build their argument. Even if you don't agree with the argument, it gives them the confidence to actually be able to articulate, and it also shows them that you do understand, you're not just trying to shut it out. So they are more likely to then listen to you, and then you can build your argument. I think so it's very important, because I see this a lot in a lot of spaces. Like, there's a lot of ageism in that way towards the younger generation, where people just say, oh, they're young people, what the hell do they understand?
Mhm.
Right. So whereas I see, like, your substitute teacher and other teachers who don't even know what a man and a woman is, trying to
Mhm.
tell the young people, that they don't know anything. So that's very important to acknowledge that. And I think so it'd be really good for do you generally find that it's not just that um kids that age are not interested in politics or how the government works, or policy making, or anything of that sort, how the laws are and stuff, that it's not that they're not interested, it's that they have not been taught critically about those things, clearly about those things,
Mhm.
and they become so confused about that topic or stuff that it's sort of like a coping mechanism. Or when they say, I'm not just interested, it's because they're afraid that they don't know, and they're embarrassed about the fact that they don't know. Do you find that?
Yeah, I think that's totally to do with the education system. They only teach one side of the argument. They don't give a fair balance of view, which obviously makes people confused or leads people to be misinformed. Um, and sometimes these people, when you try and speak to them, they've been so misinformed that they don't want the conversation. They scream at you, name call, shut you down, things like that. I think if the education system did teach a more fair balance of these things, that it wouldn't be as big of an issue as it is.
So that would be one great thing that you could do, right? Like, let's say if you start working with advance, that you could start commissioning or start asking or start making it yourself, um, how to train the kids, right? Or how to inform them rather than train them, how to inform them in very easy formats, in very easy read formats and stuff, like how the government works, how the parliament works, how the policy is made, like things that are not taught in schools, right? Like, about your taxes, where do all your taxes go, so kids understand, like, which are the taxes that are necessary, and which are the taxes that are actually,
Mhm.
just bullshit taxes, basically, right? And
Mhm.
about, like, mortgages, how to get on mortgages, about the schemes of the government, all of those things.
Mhm.
Do you think that is, I think so, would be really good way of getting engagement from, to actually give them the education the state
Mhm.
that should be giving them, a free education, in a way, to also get them interested in politics, but also empower them to have, like, be better informed.
Mhm. Yeah, especially with the Labour government giving the 16-year-olds the right to vote in the next election. I think that some sort of subject should be taught where they get a fair balance of view. Not, but my worry is whether 16-year-olds in secondary schools and things like that now will be given a fair viewpoint,
Mhm.
which is a concern because you're very easily influenced at that age. You hear a teacher saying someone's racist, you think they're racist. I'm not voting for them. So that's my worry now with 16-year-olds, having the vote, and with what they should be teaching and what education they should be given. The PSHE lessons where they teach about gender ideology, scrap it. scrap it and teach about how to write a CV, how to um,
Mm,
get prepared for interviews, being in the
yeah.
workplace. I think more work experience should be given when you're in secondary school as well. These are all things you need at life. You know how mortgages work and everything. I think that would definitely be more beneficial than teaching what's teaching now.
Yeah, so real life experiences and stuff, and also understanding how things work, and also making kids understand, like, the old adage, like, you might not be interested in politics, or politics is very much interested in you, so it will
Mhm,
come to you. So you need to understand how policies are made, and how they're not made, and what is the truth. Because I see a lot of kids, and probably I was as well at that age, becoming political activists, but it's just following a propaganda. It's just trying to run away from your own personal responsibilities,
mhm,
to be honest. So, yeah, I mean, I think so that would be a really good undertaking to help advance CK, not just to help advance CK, but actually to help the youth,
mhm.
gain a bit of control over their sort of like lives and stuff like that. So what else do you see yourself doing in the future?
I'm not too sure yet. Since I was about 14, I was like, politics is what I want to do. Over the years, it's kind of flicked. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to be, an MP in Parliament, and then I'm like, oh, I want to be a journalist. And where I'm at now, I think I want to go down the more journalism route,
Hmm.
um, than being in Parliament. Um, I like more the fact you can kind of say what you want. You're not aligned really to do anything specific. In when you're in journalism, in Parliament, you've got an actual job to do. It's
Yeah.
stressful. But when you're in journalism, you can give your own opinions. You can get other people's opinions. You can have discussion. You can help people. Help bring people into politics. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I actually could sort of find out how everything really works,
Hmm.
because once you start investigating what people are trying to hide, that's when you know, like, what is what, right? Before actually getting into the nitty gritty of actually becoming a representative, I think so is really good. And that's not just in politics, that's in every kind of job, right? Because I see a lot of people who want to go to the top straight away, and
Hmm.
I'll tell them, like, if you go to the top straight away, right, like, by whatever means, you don't know how people under you can fool you. Then you need
Hmm.
to know, you need to do those jobs, so you need to know how you can't be fooled then. So
Hmm.
it's really good to journalism is a very good way of understanding politics a bit more, because you're actually trying to investigate, you're not trying to cover things up. Proper journalism, not
Hmm.
not being a propagandist, but actually being, a journalist. So yeah, that's really good, and I hope, like, you get to do it. Is there anything else you want to share with us today?
Um, No, just reiterating the fact, obviously, that we've got a really bad education system, and people aren't getting, fair viewpoints and things like that. And if people, are getting taught things they don't agree with, just stand up, call it out, speak the truth. You might get pushback, you might get told off, but at the end of the day, you're fighting for what's true, and not the woke agenda or the propaganda they want to push. Can't let them win, and we need to take a stand now, and especially the youth. We need to tackle it from its core, and that's in the education system, in the classroom where it's getting taught. So you need to stand up and say something.
Mm. Do you also think kids do tend to go to listen to more of the podcasts and stuff these days?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
definitely seen that with my friends. Yeah.
yeah, because they're looking to be. Because this is why I push back when people say, "Oh, kids don't want to learn." So,
Hmm.
you just don't know how to teach, right? Because they are hungry for information. They are looking to know how, because they want to grow up. They want to know how things work.
Hmm.
But there's a very real danger over there as well, because once once there's no structure for kids, once there's no proper adult structure for kids, they will go looking for information before the brain is developed enough to know what's right information and what's wrong information. And that's when they can, there's a lot of podcasters, there's a lot of commentators out there who actually don't have the best interest at heart,
Mhm.
for the youth, especially like left, but also on the right. Like it's all throughout the political spectrum. Um, do you see that? Like, have you seen anyone like being radicalized, by figures like Tate or whatever other figures like that?
No, I do see when people don't really know much and they go looking for information. When you try to find out something, the first things that pop up are the mainstream media. And that's where you think, oh, this is like national news. I can believe this, but actually they're the biggest liars. So I feel like people are very misinformed in that aspect. My close circle, we watch a lot of podcasts, things like that. We try and get our opinions from different people. We
Mm,
try and look at everything. Whereas people who aren't like as politically involved than us, they will go more mainstream headlines, and that's a big problem.
yeah, and the mainstream still holds a lot of power, doesn't it? Even with the
Mhm.
with the youth, like there's something that I think so Americans don't understand. Like in Britain over here, we still depend a lot, like a lot of our favorite shows are still like in the mainstream, and we do go in and out of them like a lot. So if something comes up on BBC, I think so, like as a news thing, the first reaction is for everyone in this country is to believe it
Mhm.
before, like, and then the more discerning people will go and investigate that, or are the BBC correct, but the first reaction is that we believe it straight away,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I've heard people, when I've debated people and stuff before, on certain topics, and ask for sources and things like that, and they send me mainstream media. I'm like, it's not even viable. Like,
Yeah, well, I hope that changes for everyone. I would have hoped that we could reform institutions like BBC, but I think so they just gone too far. I
too
think
far
so.
gone.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. We need to build better new media platforms, and that would be the way, and include that educational aspect as well, as we were talking, especially for the youth, to tell them about real world things, about because there's so many things on YouTube you can go as well, like how to even fix anything in your house, and that's real life information that you should be taught, like by your parents and stuff even. But yeah, yeah. Really, really good talking with you. I hope like the best for your future, because I can see a bright future for you. Um, and I hope like Advanced UK does think about the youth department and stuff, and it's something that you can get involved in, and alongside doing journalism and stuff. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of ways that you can get involved in journalism and writing and stuff. Just be careful not to burn out,
Mhm.
not to get too much sucked in, so that you don't even live your life, because you're young, you have to live your life, you have to experience things that adults warn you against not to do. For you to know, so that's important as well. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I'll put all your links. You're on X.
Yeah, I'm on next year.
You're on X. Do you have a YouTube channel or not yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So I'll put the description, well, not the description in the description. I'll put your link in the description below, so people can go follow you and check you out. And yeah, thank you for coming on, and thank you everyone for listening. Catch you
Thank
guys
you.
later.